I am 70 years old, and 3 months ago, my doctor told me I have stage 3 colon cancer. He said if treatment goes well, I might have 5 more years, maybe 7 if I am lucky. You know what my first feeling was? It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was not even shock. It was relief. Because what kind of life have you lived when a cancer diagnosis feels like permission to finally start living? Let me back up. I need you to understand who I was before that doctor's appointment. I was the model citizen, the responsible one, the person everyone could count on. I worked at the same insurance company for 42 years. I never missed a day unless I was physically unable to move. I climbed the ladder slowly, steadily, appropriately. I bought a house in the suburbs. I married someone my parents approved of. I had 2.5 kids, 2 kids and a dog. I saved for retirement. I mowed my lawn every Saturday. I went to church on Sundays. I did everything right. And I was absolutely miserable. But here is the thing about being miserable for 40 years. You stop noticing it, it becomes normal. You tell yourself this is just what life is. You tell yourself everyone feels this way. You tell yourself that happiness is for children and irresponsible people, and you are an adult with responsibilities. You numb yourself. You go through the motions. You become a ghost in your own life. That was me, a ghost, walking, talking, working, but not really alive, just existing, just checking boxes, just doing what I was supposed to do. My wake-up call should have come years ago. There were signs everywhere. When I was 35, I had this moment. I was sitting in my cubicle on a beautiful spring day, looking at spreadsheets, and I thought to myself, is this really it? Is this what I am going to do for the next 30 years? The thought terrified me, so I pushed it down. I told myself to be grateful. I told myself I had a good job, a good salary, benefits. I told myself to stop being selfish. When I was 42, my best friend from college came to visit. He lived in a tiny apartment and he was radiantly happy. We spent the weekend together, and I felt this ache in my chest the entire time. Envy, longing, regret after he left. My wife asked me what was wrong. I almost told her. I almost said I had chosen the wrong life, but instead I said I was just tired from work. She nodded. She understood being tired from work. That was acceptable. When I was 58, my daughter asked me what I liked to do for fun. We were having dinner, just a normal conversation. And I could not answer. I genuinely could not think of anything. My hobbies, I did not have any. My passions, I could not remember having any. The things I did for joy, there were none. My daughter looked at me with such sadness. She said, "Dad, that is really depressing." And then we changed the subject because it was too uncomfortable to face. These were warnings. These were opportunities to change. But I did not take them because I was too afraid, too comfortable in my misery, too committed to the path I had chosen. And then came the diagnosis. I went in for a routine colonoscopy. They found something, more tests, more waiting. Then the doctor sat me down and said the word, cancer, stage 3, spread to nearby lymph nodes. Treatment will be aggressive. Prognosis is uncertain. If everything goes perfectly, maybe 5 years. Maybe more, maybe less. He kept talking, explaining treatment options, survival rates, next steps. But I was not really listening because all I could think was 5 years, only 5 years. And my second thought was, what have I done with the last 70? That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed. And for the first time in decades, I really thought about my life. Not the version I tell at dinner parties. Not the accomplishments I list on my resume, but the truth. The truth is, I could not remember the last time I felt truly excited about anything. The truth is, I had spent 40 years in a job I hated, working for people I did not respect, doing work that meant nothing to me. The truth is, I had stayed in a marriage that died 20 years ago because divorce seemed too complicated, too expensive, too embarrassing. The truth is, I barely knew my own children because I was always too tired from work to really engage with them. The truth is, I had given up everything I cared about because it did not fit into the life I was supposed to live. And the truth is, I was already dead. I had been dead for 40 years. My body was just walking around, going through motions, waiting for permission to stop. The cancer was almost a relief because suddenly I had an excuse. I had a reason to stop pretending. I had a deadline, 5 years, maybe 7, probably less. What was I going to do with them? The first thing I did was quit my job. I gave 2 weeks' notice. He said, "But you are so close to full retirement benefits. Just 2 more years. You have invested so much time here. sunk cost fallacy. I had already wasted 42 years. Why would I waste 2 more? I told him I had cancer. I told him I was done. I cleaned out my desk and I walked out. And you know what I felt? Nothing. No sadness, no nostalgia, no sense of loss. That job had taken 42 years of my life and given me nothing but money I never had time to spend. The second thing I did was have an honest conversation with my wife. I told her I was unhappy. I told her I had been unhappy for decades. I told her we were not really married anymore. We were just 2 people sharing a house and a last name. She started crying, but not for the reason I expected. She said, I have been waiting for you to say that for 15 years. She had been unhappy too. We had both been pretending, both waiting for the other person to be honest. First, we separated 2 weeks later. It was amicable, almost friendly. We both felt lighter. The third thing I did was make a list, not a bucket list. Everyone talks about bucket lists. I made a truth list, things I actually wanted to do, not things I thought I should want to do. The list was embarrassing, pathetic even, because most of the things on it were simple, small. Things that normal people do without thinking about it. I wanted to sleep past 8 in the morning. I wanted to read a book in the middle of the day without feeling guilty. I wanted to take a pottery class. I wanted to sit in a coffee shop and watch people. I wanted to take a road trip with no destination. I wanted to say no when I did not want to do something. These were the dreams of a 70-year-old man with cancer, not climbing Everest, not traveling to exotic locations, just wanting to feel like a person instead of a machine. I started working through the list. Slowly at first, then faster. I bought a guitar. I found a teacher. My fingers hurt and I was terrible, but I did not care. I was doing something I wanted to do, not something I should do, something I wanted. I signed up for a pottery class at the community centre. I was the only man in a class full of retired women. They were lovely. We made terrible bowls and laughed about it. I had not laughed like that in years. I started saying no. When people asked me to volunteer for things I did not care about, I said no. When family members expected me to show up to obligatory events, I said no. When friends invited me to activities I did not enjoy, I said no. People were shocked. Some were offended. They said I was being selfish. They said cancer was changing me, making me bitter. They were wrong. Cancer was not changing me. Cancer was revealing me, the person I should have been all along. I reconnected with my daughter, really connected, for the first time maybe ever. I told her the truth about my life, about my regrets. She told me the truth about how it felt growing up with a father who was physically present but emotionally absent. We both cried. And then we started building a real relationship. Better late than never, she said, though it would have been better much earlier. I reached out to my old friend, the photographer, the one I envied at 42. I told him I had cancer. I told him I had wasted my life being afraid. He came to visit. We spent a week together. He taught me about photography. We went out every day, taking pictures of ordinary things, streets, trees, people, light. It was the best week I had had in decades. He said something to me that I think about every day. He said, you know what the saddest thing is? You did not need cancer to do this. You could have done this at 40, at 50. You were always free. You just did not realize it. He was right. I'd been in a prison of my own making. The door was never locked. I just never tried to open it. Now I am 70 years old with maybe 5 years left, and I am finally living, actually living. And it is better than the 40 years of sleepwalking I did before. But here is what haunts me. Here is what keeps me up at night. I did not need cancer to give me permission. I did not need a doctor to tell me I was dying to realize I was not living. I could have done this at any point. I could have quit the job I hated at 30. I could have ended the dead marriage at 40. I could have pursued my interests at 50. I was not trapped. I was just afraid. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of being irresponsible. Afraid of disappointing others. Afraid of failing. Afraid of choosing wrong. So I chose nothing, and choosing nothing is still a choice. It is choosing to let life happen to you instead of creating the life you want. Do you know how many people are living the way I lived? Going through motions, doing what they are supposed to do, waiting for someday when the kids are grown, someday when you have more money, someday when you retire, someday when the time is right. Let me tell you about someday. Someday never comes, or it comes too late, or it comes and you are too tired, too sick, too old, too scared. I look at people in their 50s and 60s, still grinding away at jobs they hate, still sacrificing, still postponing, still waiting, and I want to shake them. I want to tell them to stop. Stop waiting. Stop sacrificing. Stop postponing life. You do not need a cancer diagnosis to start living. You do not need a doctor to give you a deadline to realize your time is limited. You do not need to hit rock bottom to decide to climb back up. You just need to be honest with yourself, brutally honest about whether you are living or just existing, about whether you are happy or just numb, about whether you are making choices or just accepting defaults. Ask yourself right now, if you found out you had 5 years left, what would you change? What would you quit? What would you start? What would you say? Who would you forgive? What would you let go of? Now ask yourself the harder question, why are you not doing those things right now? Because unless you are actively dying, you do have time. Maybe not as much as you think, maybe more than you fear. Are you going to keep living the life you think you are supposed to live? Keep making everyone else happy while you die inside? Keep postponing joy until some mythical future that may never come? Or are you going to start living like your time is limited, because it is? Even without cancer, even if you live to 90, your time is limited and you are wasting it. I am 70 years old. I probably have 5 years left, maybe 3. But I know these last 3 months have been more alive than the previous 40 years combined. I am finally doing what I want. I am finally saying what I think. I am finally being who I am instead of who I thought I should be. And yes, I am dying. We all are. But for the first time in my life, I am also living. Do not wait for a crisis. Do not wait for a crisis. Do not wait for permission. Start being honest now. Start making choices now. Because the saddest thing is not dying. The saddest thing is realizing you were never really alive. I spent 40 years dead and did not even know it. Do not make the same mistake. Wake up, choose life, choose yourself, choose now. The clock is ticking.